Oh, yeah. I'm already dead. Yeah. I'm already dead.
Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of the podcast entitled Couch Potatoes Unite! Which is based on a blog of the same name because it's like New Seattle. Very similar to the old Seattle, with perhaps some new and exciting twists. Maybe? My name is Kylie and I love TV. If you feel the same, keep listening and or checking out our website, couchpotatoesunite.wordpress.com, as you're bound to find some common ground with something you like. For Couch Potatoes Unite, we're all about the wonders and the unique long-form storytelling of the small screen. CPU, is ready for our summer season and hopes you've been following releases of brand new episodes of the podcast on Wednesdays, as well as new blog entries on some Tuesdays, and as always, we have several more new episodes on the way. Because the panelists and I live lives behind our podcast, the episodes are published once per week. Subscribe to the blog or the podcast via iTunes, Stitcher Radio, and via Google Play to stay on top of brand new episodes. Episodes already published discuss a variety of shows around the water cooler, including, but not limited to, Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, The Vampire Diaries, Orange is the New Black, The Good Place, Grace and Frankie, Fuller House, Game of Thrones, Broadchurch, and Stranger Things. Plus, new episodes are in the works, including revisits for Doctor Who, American Horror Story, A Series of Unfortunate Events, The X-Files, Marvel Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., New Girl, The Originals, Supernatural, Gotham, Once Upon a Time, 13 Reasons Why, the Marvel's Defenders panel will talk Season 2 of Jessica Jones, and the DCTU will revisit all 4 shows in the CW's Arrowverse. We'll be launching new panels covering Sense8, The Crown, Schitt's Creek, Will and Grace, Westworld, and Arrested Development. We'll be launching a new feature called Versus, where we will be comparing shows in a spicy debate. And because we look back at shows now past, we'll be looking back at one of our most popularly requested panels of all time, which is Friends, and I swear to you that it is on its way. By the way, did you know that CPU also from time to time goes live? We've been live from the Bunker, comedy outlet Mondays at Dog Story Theater in Grand Rapids Comic-Con, and we're planning more live appearances and other cool stuff. So make sure you like or follow us at our Facebook page, our Twitter at CPU Podcast, our Instagram at Couch Potatoes Unite, or subscribe to the blog, our YouTube channel, our iTunes channel, our Stitcher Radio channel, or find us on Google Play. In the meantime, if you don't hear a show in this podcast format, fellow panelists and I still write reviews, and we always seek new panelists, so if you have any interest in joining the discussion, say hello by finding us at any of those outlets I have mentioned. At the very least, stop by and leave us a thumbs up, comment, or review. We like feedback! Just don't go all Romero on us, okay? We promise we're gonna feed your brains. Today, we're around the water cooler as a continuation of a 2-part miniseries in which CPU catches up on Quirky's CW comedy drama, iZOMBIE. In this episode, part 2 of our miniseries, we're discussing Season 4, which aired from February 26, 2018 to May 28, 2018 on the CW with a total of 13 episodes. To remind the listener, iZOMBIE is an American television series developed by Rob Thomas and Diane Ruggiero Wright for the CW. It's a loose adaptation of the comic book series of the same name, created by Chris Roberson and Michael Allred, and published by DC Comics under their Vertigo imprint. Seattle medical resident Olivia Liv Moore, played by Rose McIver, is turned into a zombie while attending a boat party. She abandons her career and breaks up with her fiancé Major, played by Robert Buckley, much to the disappointment and puzzlement of her family. She discovers that if she does not periodically satisfy her new appetite for brains, she starts turning into a stereotypical zombie, stupid and homicidal. Instead of feeding by killing innocent people, Liv decides to take a job at the King County morgue and eat the brains of the corpses she autopsies. Her secret is guessed by her boss, Dr. Ravi Chakrabarty, played by Raul Kohli. Ravi soon becomes Liv's friend and confidant, and as a scientist, he is intrigued by her condition. Liv finds out that whenever she eats a dead person's brain, she temporarily inherits some of their personality traits and skills, and she experiences flashbacks of that person's life. Those visions are generally triggered by sights and events or objects, or sounds and repeated sentences. In the case of murder victims, the flashbacks offer clues about the killer. Liv also decides to use this new ability to help police detective Clive Babineau, played by Malcolm Goodwin, solve crimes. Though she initially passes herself off as a psychic, Clive eventually learns the truth about her and zombies. Meanwhile, Ravi works to develop a cure for Liv's affliction, in the hope that one day she will be able to resume her former life. Today, in the second episode of our iZombie Catch-Up miniseries, we will be focusing specifically upon Season 4 of this zany show with our ready and rearing panel of zombie acolytes, namely Kristen, Jenn S, and Jenn K. Before we digest more of iZombie, I'm going to take a moment to take our panel's temperature because, as we all know, sometimes a TV show can take turns for the better or the worse in our heads, or could continue its lack of awesomeness or lack thereof, depending upon its story evolution. As always, it should be noted that all of our panelists have viewed the entire show to date and will, let's face it, discuss sensitive plot points. So for those of you who have not caught up on iZombie, listen at your own risk as there are going to be major spoilers. Welcome back, panel. How are you?
Good.
Hi. Are you ready to talk about Season 4?
Yes. Keep going.
I can totally vouch that they are ready to talk about Season 4. You better live up to this, though. I'm just going to say it.
Ha! Used to live.
Oh, I did.
Yeah.
Puns everywhere. Well, in order to take a temperature, or in order to take your temperature following your watching of Season 4, I'm going to, of course, go through the CPU standard character question, which changes with each show we do, and I have tweaked it for Season 4 somewhat. Not a lot. Somewhat. So tell me, panel, how do you feel about iZombie now that you've seen all 4 seasons? Do you love iZombie? If you had your choice, you would be a zombie. Or maybe you wouldn't. But you would do everything you could to make the best of your zombification should you be scratched, including finding new and interesting ways to spice up and gourmet prep your brains. You also believe watching this show and in turn Liv's consumption of and visions from different brains gives you meaning in your life, like Olivia or Liv Moore. Are you truly fascinated by every single episode, vision, discovery, and crime that crosses through your personal morgue of zombie obsession? You think this show is a more than decent, you're British, so you're being conservative, addition to the annals of zombie fiction. Plus, you think it's starting to rub off on you in surprising ways, like Ravi Chakrabarti. Are you a convert? In fact, you've come along so wholeheartedly, you've become zealously protective of this show and will defend even its most glaring flaws, of which there are admittedly several, like Major Lillywhite. Do you like the procedural or case of the week element? You like to solve the mysteries, even if you don't care much for the zombie spin on the story, or germs, though you have weaknesses for the romances, the constant references to Dungeons and Dragons, and can understand certain characters' equally potent love of Game of Thrones, like Detective Clive Babineau. Do you think this show is just cashing in on the popularity of zombie fiction, like other properties such as The Walking Dead, but you have no problem taking part in the cashing in, and you sort of enjoy watching it for the musical interludes provided by the Blaine character, like Blaine De Beers McDonough? Do you reluctantly enjoy this show, but can admit you do sort of enjoy it after all because so many of your friends and loved ones watch it? You don't always get it, but you don't necessarily hate it either, like Peyton Charles. Or you don't like it much, well, except for the advocacy for faith and religion at times. You think it's far too touchy-feely for zombie fiction. You think the zombies should be allowed to give in to their zombie natures so that this show plays less like comedy and more like the horror of typical zombie TV and film. Like Angus McDonough, a.k.a. Brother Love. Who would like to start?
I'm still...
What is your name?
Jenn S.
Jenn S, because there are 2 Jens.
Yes, there is. I would say I'm still Liv and Ravi, but I think I'm some Detective Clive Babineau.
Because?
The constant references to Dungeons and Dragons. I love it.
If you listen to our previous episode, you know that Jenn is a veteran Dungeons and Dragons player. So, is that why?
Yes.
Okay. Just checking. Does that conclude your remarks?
That is it.
Okay, welcome back, Jenn S.
I'm Kristen.
Hi, Kristen.
And last time I was Ravi with a dash of Liv.
Sounds right.
Yep. And this time I'm just going to be Ravi.
Okay.
Changing it up.
She is. And she went solo on one. Why are you just Ravi?
It is possible for me to only choose one character.
It is. Just not frequent.
Not frequent. But iZombie makes it easy. I pretty much just stuck with Ravi just because I don't know. I really, really like the show. I binged season 4 in 2 days. 2 days. You know, this season it really kept me engaged. I was really fascinated by every single episode, vision, discovery, and crime that crosses through my... I don't have a personal morgue, because I'm not really zombie obsessed. I'm not. This is the
You
only...
could have a personal morgue.
I could.
It could be a metaphor for something.
Fear of dead things. I'm not going to have a personal
Oh,
morgue.
right.
But no, I mean, but realistically, this is the only zombie show that I watch. There are no other zombie shows out there that I watch. I don't watch The Walking Dead. This is the only one. So I'm Ravi.
Welcome back, Kristen. Fair enough.
Thank you.
I'm the other Jenn K.
Hi, Jenn K.
Last time I was Robbie. I think this time I'm mostly Robbie with a dash of Liv.
Okay.
So we switched.
Yeah, we did switch. I think for this time, they kind of revamped the entire show with this new season. And it does take place a few months after the events in season 3. And I think even with the time jump, or time skip, however you want to call it, even with it, like, it didn't hurt the show at all. And, like, being able to revamp it like that, I think they did a pretty good job. And, again, it still kept me hooked. Like, I wanted to watch every single episode. Now that the season's over, it wasn't as much, I would say, of a cliffhanger as it was in season 3, but, like, I still want to see what's going to happen next.
Welcome back, Jenn K. And of course, I'm Kylie. I'm moderating and participating like I did the last time in this mini-series. And I was last time, I believe, I was Ravi, Major and Ravi, Major with a dash of Ravi. Now I am Liv. After this season, I have fully and officially become obsessed with iZOMBIE. I agree with it. Yes, indeed. I agree with Jenn K's comment. They kind of injected a new, fresh energy into the show. Mm-hmm. I agree with Kristen. I binge watched it in maybe a day or two. Mm-hmm. It was very, very fast. I couldn't get enough. In fact, there was a break in my ability to watch the episodes because I had to go off and do some things, and I kept thinking, man, I really want to get home and watch the rest of iZOMBIE.
Same.
Yes. All the things that we liked about the show, I think, in seasons 1 through 3 translated into season 4. What was now different is that there was a huge overarching story that had a lot of ramifications and implications for our characters. Mm-hmm. Not to mention the fact that the humor kind of went balls to the wall this season. And not Major like Lily White. By the way, we did not spend enough time appreciating his name.
I was waiting for, I was going to say something and I just totally forgot about it.
Major Lily White.
You know, when they first say it, I honestly thought it was like a joke. I didn't think that was his real actual character name.
He even makes a joke about it being a silly name in this season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, in this season 4, yeah.
I thought Major was just a nickname.
Yeah.
No.
It's not.
No.
It works on so many levels. Mm-hmm. A, he's apparently the whitest character on the show. Mm-hmm. B, he's white. He's Lily White, even though there are zombies who are white-skinned and white-haired. And he's like, you think you expect him to be a dude bro, and he is kind of a little,
but not a lot.
Not a lot. Mm-mm. It is the most hilarious name on the show. But anyway.
When you had the other dude bros back in season 2 with the fraternity episode, there's no way Major would ever compare to being like a dude bro like that.
That's true. But still, I mean, he's kind of buff, and does play basketball. You expect him to be kind of jockish.
Yeah.
So the Major Lily White thing just works on so many levels. But anyway, I just really love season 4, and I'm so obsessed now because exactly like Jenn K said, the season finale kind of didn't land with a huge bang, if you will, but I still really want to know what happens now. And, there was a comment that maybe there wasn't a lot of story left. I think they were trying to move it to a place where, in case they got canceled. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think they were expecting maybe to get canceled, but I still think they left so much open that there's a lot of room to go. And I can't wait to find out. But we'll talk about what we hope to happen in season 5, which we'll mention early. The CW has announced that season 5 will be the show's last.
Which I like that they're saying that from the get-go.
Yeah.
so that way they know ahead of time that this is going to be the last.
Yeah.
I think that is so smart.
I agree with that.
I do too. It gives them an end date.
And it gives them a chance to go out on top.
For sure.
And you also won't feel rushed like some other shows. It feels like they rush things.
Yep, because they get
that
it
last
late.
minute.
Yeah.
Which show are you sideways referencing right now?
Huh? I don't know.
We've done a few. I'm giving you some opening there, Jenn S.
We're talking about iZombie.
So let's talk about season 4. What did you like? What didn't you like? There was so much that happened.
Oh my
It was
gosh,
very
so
dense.
much. I love how Ravi now gets what he calls his monthlies.
Yes.
With the zombie work for
Yes.
like just a few days. He gets one streak of white hair and he craves brains. Otherwise, he's human.
As a byproduct of his very experimental
experimental.
vaccine,
Yep.
Yes.
which was a sugar cube.
Yeah.
Yes, agreed. The possibilities with Ravi are endless. They didn't overuse it, but
No.
I particularly loved when he played quote-unquote white girl.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
yes.
The Kim Kardashian-like,
Yes.
whatever
Instagram
she's...
influencer
Yes.
who's
Yeah.
appropriating the zombie culture.
Yes. That was one of my favorite episodes.
Can you button your shirt? No, it's my body. I want it to be seen. You don't have to look at me if you don't want to. Clive and Robbie as a team.
Yes.
I love
That worked so well.
much, especially when Robbie was on the quote unquote white girl brand.
Yeah, definitely. I like that.
Well, that's one of the things. By this time, everybody in the group now knows of the zombie curse because everybody in Seattle knows of zombie
Yeah,
Right, because
curse.
they built that wall.
10,000 people have been
Yeah.
infected by the Aleutian flu quote unquote vaccine. The U.S. government built a border wall around Seattle, which they're now calling New Seattle. You know, there was like a couple 100,000 humans were able to make it out supposedly, but you know, now there's 10,000 zombies.
Things out of it. I mean, she's not. She left, didn't she?
No.
She's
No.
not in Seattle anymore.
Yes, she is.
Yes, she
Is she?
is.
She is.
Yeah, she is for the most. She takes a trip when
To
she's
DC.
the acting mayor.
Oh yeah.
To go discuss
Does
human
she
zombie
go back?
relations.
She doesn't come
Yes,
back?
she does.
She comes back.
Yeah, she does come back.
Yeah, so the U.S. government has built this wall around Seattle to keep
Again, another on the nose allegory.
Right. Yeah. So right now, New Seattle is 10,000 plus zombies and a couple 100,000 or less.
And ruled by almost martial law, courtesy of Fillmore
Fillmore
Graves. And part of that martial law is an arrangement where brains are imported into the city or from the city based on voluntary donors, except that there's a huge black market, part of which is, of course, facilitated by Blaine, but also just they have these brain feeding tubes that Fillmore Graves invented. We learn about them in season 3. That's how...
It's a bunch of brains mashed together so nobody gets the visions.
Right. And basically functioning like military rations almost. And this is how they try to feed the population of Seattle, which is not sufficient.
I think this is one of Blaine's like side businesses. He has that like gourmet restaurant where they have like brains prepared.
Yes,
like,
called
that's
Romero's.
That's not for the people that have more money than just like the food stamp equivalent of brains.
Yep, and they get to select their brain, just like you'd go to the lobster tank and select your lobster. They have a little dossier of who, you know, this person was an architect, or I don't remember what the other options were, but I remember the architect for some reason. So they could pick not only which brain they wanted, but how they wanted it prepared.
I have to say, this season definitely made me feel more. Like, it was the first time that I actually felt like, ew, brain tubes. Like, that was gross. Up until that point, I was totally fine.
Yeah,
I
brain
looked
tubes,
forward
whatever.
to see how they were cooking the brains, but the brain tubes just really grossed me
Well,
out.
this time we also got the brain tube factory,
Yeah.
which I think was
Yeah.
probably part of it. You actually saw how these brains were being prepared,
Processed.
Yeah.
Processed brains,
Yeah.
just like bologna.
Yes.
Gross.
I hate bologna. That's why.
Bologna and mushrooms are up there for me.
Yep.
Segueing from last episode when I talked about how much I hated mushrooms.
Yes. Well, now you have pasty bologna.
But also, I liked the whole Angus story going on. But I did
Brother
feel,
love.
I did feel the way that he was killed was a bit fast.
Well,
There's
there's
some
stuff
scandal.
around. So let's just set this up now, since you're hedging it. First, we should set up how this even happens. At the end of season 3, Blaine, in a very personal vendetta type way, basically throws his dad down a well.
With cement around his feet.
Right.
Yes. And he throws some brains to him, chunks of brains,
Every so often he goes to visit.
Yeah.
just to keep him from turning into a full-on zombie.
Not that he'd be able to escape the well anyway or die.
Right.
Right.
Just to be mean.
Just
Yeah.
to be mean. Just to prolong the agony.
Because he was a bad father.
A horrible father.
Abusive father.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then, actually, one of the henchmen, and I don't remember his name, because he doesn't like Blaine or Don E. particularly, and how they're running things, resurrects Angus from the well. But Angus has been starved for a while, and he's been hearing the voice of his son taunting him from several feet above him, and comes out opining that he's heard the voice of God. He happens upon a storefront theater, and in that storefront theater there was a preacher who's kind of administering faith to zombies and humans alike, mostly zombies though. And Angus appropriates this church for himself after clubbing the preacher with a hammer and eating his brain, and then advocating that zombies should just be able to kill humans and eat them because that's nature and food and evolution and blah, 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 blah. But what we find is that Angus's call to faith actually tames him to the point that he even reconnects with Blaine for a time. But there comes a point at which the cult, because it does become something of a zombie cult, tries for a mass exodus of Seattle. And in the process, Angus, who storms to the front on horseback no less, meets an ignominious death, just taken out by soldiers from the U.S. military, basically. But there's a reason for this. The real-life actor, Robert Knepfler,
Yeah.
he has been, amongst so many others in this time, accused of sexual misconduct.
See, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
While that's being hashed out in the courts / the media, iZombie basically wrapped up his arc.
They wrapped it up
They
pretty quickly.
they
I
did.
see now.
They came and said, but his exit was already planned. They tried to do that, whether that's true or not. Even though both investigations into the actor's behavior proved that nothing happened. I think it was still probably a good choice for the show.
Yeah.
It was back in the 90s when these accusations were coming up for him when he was working on other shows, but I guess they did like an internal investigation on the set, and from there they didn't find any damning evidence at that time for him to completely be kicked off the series. So it's just let's just wrap up his arc and then let them figure it out on their own.
I mean, I think they were planning to wrap him up. There's only so much they could have mined out of that character.
Right.
Just maybe not when it happened.
Yeah.
And that was his only season that he was a main character too.
Yeah.
Correct. That was the only time he was a regular.
So my question is with him, he's the only zombie that actually kind of stayed he was the red eyes. He looked more dead than anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
Right. He was going
Is
for an
that
all
because-
natural thing.
Yeah, he
That-
was.
It's because he was starving for so long in the well. I mean, because he never changed.
Yeah.
He never got better. He never looked healthy after that.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I always wondered why that was.
He kind of wanted to go with a certain aesthetic for zombies too, because he was on the side for the zombies where it's you don't tan and die. You're a zombie, why would you cover that up? So I think he was probably even if he was like that or whatever, he probably exaggerated some of the features too.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would agree with that take as well. I
Yeah,
think
I
that's...
agree with that.
Yeah, ultimately that's what he was doing, was trying to advocate sort of zombie freedom. He might have looked gaunt a little too, just because he did go through that ordeal, but I also get the sense that he ate a lot of brains, so... And remember, that whole time, there was this sort of charisma and power about him, in the true fashion of a cult leader. I mean, they were setting him up that way, and all new people to his flock just fell under his spell, and it became so big that they brought in cameras at one point, and I just think everything was exaggerated for effect, because he knew he could. What else did you like or not like about season 4?
I like the concept of Renegade and the Underground Railroad.
Yeah, Renegade.
Yes. The first Renegade, played by Dawn Lewis from A Different World. She's been in and out of TV over the course of several decades. So what do we think of that?
Still
The
looks the
Renegades.
same.
She does still look the same. She is barely aged.
She has
Although, to be fair, Jasmine Guy doesn't look bad either.
No.
For her Vampire Diaries appearances. But the Renegade storyline was huge. What did we think about this?
I liked it. They kind of told you in the beginning where it's for New Seattle, no one's getting in, no one's getting out. But just the idea for people wanting to get smuggled in case their family got trapped inside or vice versa. It makes sense that it's there.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it added a compassionate element to it. It sort of gave The Walking Dead heightened tension that comes with that show and sprinkled some of it onto iZombie. So it became more of a typical or true zombie fiction while still having the funny side too.
Even with it too, the public execution concept, that seemed very extreme.
But also very true to history.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, guillotine. Although the guillotine apparently didn't cut off the neck, it just smashed the head. Weird.
Yeah.
The new guillotine, yeah.
That was kind of gross.
Well, because remember, the head, you can't just behead a zombie, you have to destroy the brain.
I know. We saw that with that guy and his head was talking on the counter, but still.
Yeah. It's just proving the point,
Yeah. To their credit, they didn't show any of the smooshing.
Which was good. We got the illustration of it with the watermelon, which is common, it seems, when both
Gallagher-esque.
Yeah, very, yeah.
They did kind of show it.
They did. But that's because that
needed to be.
Yeah, because really, so this is where we talk about the exchange of villainies, Blaine is not really the villain. He's a machination, but the real villain in this particular is Chase Graves.
Yeah.
Who, by the way, Liv gets it on with at one point.
In season 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, that caused her and Justin to break up.
It does. Because she's on Caddy Cups, whatever her name is, was a sex addict. That's part of her business.
Yeah.
I love the Renegade storyline. I thought the whole thing was well developed. It had a very good linear through line, beginning, middle, end. It was very interesting to me that Liv and Major, who have this deep and abiding love for each other, whether they're romantically in love or not, they still love each other, were set at odds because he sort of fell into the, again, a little bit on the nose, fascist stylings of Fillmore Graves, while she was much more compassionate and wanted to help not only humans who were sick by scratching them, but also anybody who just was separated from their family. The episode that really got me this season to the point of crying was Isabel.
Yes.
There's a couple of them. That's
the big one.
That was one.
Yep.
Yeah, I cried.
I knew I would. I mean, with Isabel, she's under 18, and she has, I don't remember what the name of her condition is.
Very rare disease.
It's a very, very rare, but essentially it means that she pretty much won't live to see her 18th birthday. That's what the kids with this disease, they die really young. And so, she sneaks into Seattle to get scratched by a zombie to prolong her life. Surprise, surprise, she gets scratched by Liv multiple times and by other zombies multiple times, and she doesn't turn.
Right.
She is somehow immune to whatever is causing the zombie outbreak. Yeah, I mean, you knew it was going to end tragically, especially once she started getting the nosebleeds, which are, I guess, for her condition, it's a telltale sign that death is coming. So anytime she'd get a nosebleed, she'd fake.
Yeah, she'd fake
dead.
it. I liked
Which
that.
was her coping
it was a good comic
mechanism.
relief. Yeah.
Yeah.
From that, but the last time, we're like, oh.
Right, when
It's
Ravi,
so sad.
yeah, because she and Ravi kind of formed a relationship while she was living with Liv and Peyton, and, Ravi had promised, her dying wish was to learn how to drive. And so Ravi comes over to the girl's apartment one day, being the typical dad, he's got all the helmet and the protective gear on to go take her for her first driving lesson, and he walks into the apartment and Liv and Isabel's mom, who then smuggled herself into Seattle, are just sitting there, very emotional and crying. And
I think his reaction is what
his
happened.
reaction was
Oh my
what
gosh,
got,
yes.
I was on the border of it all, but
Right.
when he came, I just want to start crying right now thinking about it. He's such a good actor.
Yeah.
Well,
make you
and
feel
one of
that
the
way.
most amazing parts of this little subplot is that it transpired over maybe 3 episodes.
Yeah, it was not long.
I was going to get emotionally invested in her that much, and you're crying at her, and it's well, if Aang is or Angus or like Clive, other characters, like if they died, or even when like Drake died, I didn't cry, but like this girl who was on for not nearly as long, like you cry at her and it's like, how did this happen?
I know. It's so true.
But I think it's because of the bond that they all formed together.
Yeah.
It made you feel that.
Well,
And
especially too, once Isabel turned to Liv and said, I want you to eat my brain.
Yeah.
so
like-
that my memories live on
Yeah.
for a while.
Yeah.
Because that's the other piece of this plot line is that because they figure out she's immune, Ravi basically, she agrees to subject herself to research both alive and post-death. She asks them to harvest her brain so that her brain can be used for research toward a zombie cure, which becomes very important later. But the whole emotional buildup that comes along not only with the progression of her disease, but also her just subjecting herself that way, and that's her opening to that bond that you're talking
because
about.
she just kept saying she wanted her life to mean something.
Yeah.
Right. And it was truly, I mean, this was next level for this show. Nothing up until the point had reached that level.
No.
And it was amazing. Very well written. And actually that girl has been on Supergirl too. She's played young Kara recently.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. I knew she looked familiar. I was like,
Yeah.
the whole time, like, gosh, she looks so familiar. That's
Because the
it.
other young Kara is on a series of unfortunate events as Violet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they aged up that Kara too, to like, because that one I think was like more like middle school. This one's in high school.
Yeah, for sure.
I also really like Levon.
Yes. First of all, I like that he's named Levon because that just makes me want to sing an Elton John song called Levon. Secondly, I didn't think I would ever cheer for her in a relationship
that was
outside
somebody
of
who's
Major.
not Major.
Or Ravi.
Or
I
Ravi.
would be open to her and Ravi.
No.
No.
It's
come
like a
on.
brother-sister kind of thing.
No,
No, it's
not
not.
Liv and Robbie. That's
No,
not.
not Liv and Robbie. No, I agree with Kristen on
Aw,
that one.
come on.
No.
No, but he was my
Y'all are
favorite
prudes.
boyfriend
Oh, that she's
besides
had.
Major, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Really good chemistry, also cute.
Oh, yeah.
Very.
They have really good casting agents for this
Yeah,
show.
really.
Really photogenic male types.
Yeah.
That's a CW though. It's always photogenic people that
It's
look like
true.
they're in their 20s or 30s, and then they play teenagers.
Although, I think Liv is playing older than she is. Because she said in the one where she's playing, so Enrico Colantoni guest stars as Detective Benedetto, the vice cop, the one that knows
Yeah.
Drake. And then in this season, Detective Benedetto bites it, basically, and she eats his brain.
Yeah.
And in that episode, she says she's a child of the 80s, apart from the fact that she is Detective Benedetto's brain. And I looked Rose McIver's age up. She's 29.
Yeah.
So she was born in like 88.
Yeah.
So she's not really a child of the 80s. I think, and all of the references, all of the pop culture that really I think is meant to appeal is very Gen X aesthetic, or maybe Xennial, Xennial, whatever.
I think Liv is supposed to be older than Rose McIver, just because like Peyton is way older.
Yeah.
Because she's like in her young 20s.
Yes.
So they really
And
aged
Ravi
the
as
two
well.
girls up.
I mean, I think Ravi's playing at least 30s.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Well,
the guy playing Major is 37.
Is he really?
Yeah.
Yes. He also
wow.
just got married. I looked it up.
Yeah, the guy who plays Robbie is 31, 32. So they're trying, I think they're kind of going for a mid-30s aesthetic with those characters.
Yeah, because, well, actually, I think it was in the first season, they talk about Liv's birthday. I think she mentioned that she turned 27.
On the show?
Yeah.
Well, how can she be a child of the 80s? Maybe that was just a reference on the brain.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'd have to go back and watch it again. I did watch this season very, very fast because I was hooked at this point. What else did we like or not like about season 4?
The documentary aspect of it, very interesting. And actually, another fun fact, Paul Rudd is narrating the movie at the season finale.
He is. In fact,
The
Chase...
joke about Paul Rudd.
Yeah, Chase is talking to one of the other Fillmore Graves people.
When
and
the
he's-
documentary gets leaked.
Yeah, and he says, "Is that Paul Rudd?" Oh yeah, that's a good get.
Yeah.
Which it is. That was a meta reference because Paul Rudd, whatever.
It's Paul Rudd.
I mean, he's Ant-Man now. He's busy.
He'll always be Josh from Clueless for me.
Him and Rob Thomas, I think, know each other somehow from like previous work. That's
sure.
how connection came about.
Of course.
Yep.
Paul Rudd is many things to many people. He's also Mike Hannigan on Friends.
Yes.
He marries Phoebe.
And
all
still
is
doesn't
right
look like he's
with the world.
aged at all.
No, I know.
No.
He looks incredible. And he's also part of the so-called frat pack with
Yep.
Will Ferrell and Steve Carell and whoever else is in that nutso group of guys.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah, the ones that made all, the...
He's an anchorman with them too, right?
He is an anchor man.
Yeah.
Are there any bad parts?
Oh, the teenager zombies that...
The runaway zombies.
The runaway zombies.
Turn
They were-
soldiers?
Yeah, turn
Yes.
soldiers.
Oh,
The guy
yeah.
and the girl that
Yeah.
Major kind of takes under.
Jordan and Fisher.
Yeah.
Fisher
They-
goes by Seattle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Major gets back to his youth mentoring
Yeah.
and social working roots a little
At
bit.
Chase's
A
orders.
little bit.
Yeah. I didn't like it that they killed
I could
Fisher.
have done without it, yeah.
It was one of the weaker parts of the season.
Yeah.
I agree. I thought they were not very good actors,
Yeah, I
the two
didn't
of
think they
them, and I didn't care about their flirtation. And I didn't care
Yeah.
about her plight. She was too sassy.
Yeah.
I didn't really care about his plight either. They didn't really set one up for him. The whole, we have a shortage of soldiers, so we're going to recruit
Yeah.
the vagrant zombie youth was a little bit weak. I think they were just trying to go for an overall fascism allegory, like setting it up against Nazism, because that, the secret police, that's how they recruited. They got young members to train and then become members of the secret police, but it didn't land very well.
No.
And of course, she always got into skirmishes because she was sassy and scratched an anti-zombie human who then became a zombie and one of Brother Love's most devoted acolytes. What about the French dude? I thought that was a terrible joke
Yeah.
that went on too long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And was he really French or was he putting it on?
Yeah.
Well, there was somebody in the cast list by the last name of Bonjour. I'm not making this up.
I know you're not. I was trying to think if Bonjour was a joke.
I don't know.
I just thought he was incredibly dumb.
Yeah,
The only time he was funny was in their first meeting because Robbie had a fit and called him a frog or something
Yeah, it
like
was
that.
yeah.
So, but then after that it was like, okay, who cares about this guy? Who cares
Yeah.
about half the people in Fillmore Graves? It really came down to Major and Chase. And then Russ Roach, the bully. What did we think about that guy?
Ugh. Man, I did not like watching Major with that guy.
Yeah.
They really could have spent more time. They could have spent less time on sort of those distractions and more time on Renegade versus Fillmore Graves stuff.
Yeah.
The Brain Mush Black Market storyline, which is really what Russ was supposed to serve, which also brought back AJ from season 1, one of the Blue Cobras. I just felt that was really too much of a side plot that didn't land very well for me. Even though Major's sort of entrapment of them at the end was funny because they gave him a blue brain soaked in a brainwashed, truth-telling, electrocuted guy. And he just kept saying things. Plus he had cotton in his ears, so he was saying it loudly.
Oh, yeah.
I was waiting for him while he was still on that truth brain to accidentally spill out that Liv was Renegade. Yeah, I was kind of surprised he didn't. I mean, I'm glad that they waited out. Thought he was going to spill me by accident.
Yeah, for sure. What about when Ravi eats the brain of a heroin addict to help Peyton?
That was pretty intense.
That was tough to watch.
It was, but what a good actor
Well,
again.
he is a good actor because that was very realistic.
I know.
Like, really.
I'm glad that we get to see some of his range as well as an actor, other than just having Liv do it. 'Cause obviously, she's fantastic, but seeing other people being able to do it other than... Because, I mean, only time for Major that I really, thought it was funny for him. And,
Was the wrestler?
Oh, I forgot about the wrestler.
Yes!
Yeah, when he's on Wrestler Brain.
The wrestler brain was my favorite. Because he kept talking like this.
That's right.
I'm so partial to Teenage Girl Brain.
I mean, yes, Teenage Girl Brain was superb and probably better, but because they put him on Wrestler Brain in the same episodes that Liv was on Hopeless Romantic Brain.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's a good episode.
Oh my, good pair, because it was that two-parter.
Yeah.
It was so funny. So funny. And what about her, I want to call it a sexcapade. It was really just a really kind of ugly makeout session.
with Tim.
Tyler.
Was it Tyler?
Tim was the first guy.
Yes.
Tyler was the second
Tyler
guy.
was the second guy.
Or was it Tyler then Tim?
Doesn't matter. With the T dudes.
Yeah.
The guy in the bar.
The scratching post.
Yes.
Be a disciple of Brother Love.
Yes. Lots of random disciples of Brother Love, by the way.
Yeah. I thought that was going to be like more of a segue episode for them to dive more into the like Brother Love Church, but it really wasn't. Like, it took them a couple more episodes, at least until like Liv and the documentary crew like came across them.
Yeah. How did you feel about the Brother Love thing, really? Aside from the fact that they wrapped it up quickly.
I liked it. I mean, I thought it was... I did not like it.
It was interesting to see that like extremism for zombies. Like fascist, like Nazi-ish controlled environment. Where it's like you're going to have some other like group come out of it just to be like super extreme like that.
While juxtaposed against the Fillmore Graves, who were basically... could have been the same thing, but didn't have the sway of the people.
Or the like religious like claim to it either.
Right.
It was actually, too, the first time that we see somebody takes a stand for keeping zombie a hush. We're zombies, we eat brains, this is what we're going to do. So it's kind of that, he's standing up for that, I guess.
Yeah.
You know, that's the first time that we see something like that. I think that's what made it a little more intriguing for me. I mean, it wasn't my favorite part of the whole season, but...
What about the episode when he brought in the housekeeper? The old housekeeper, the one that abused Blaine.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
I thought that was just like him trying to shift the blame of himself onto her. I didn't know if that part was actually true or not, if she did abuse Blaine. But even with it too, you have this old lady that like can't really stand, and like she's about to get eaten by zombies or whatever, she can't escape.
In this season, but in the previous, I think it was season 2, when they thought Angus was dead because Major, as the Chaos Killer, nabbed him.
Yeah.
Blaine was supposed to be willed the estate, all of the riches,
And she got it.
unless Angus was murdered, because Angus thought that Blaine would probably be the murderer.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
Okay.
and the housekeeper ends up inheriting everything temporarily, and Blaine actually talks about the fact that the housekeeper was particularly physically abusive to him.
Okay, so it wasn't just like him trying to push the blame all on her.
No, I actually think he really was trying to make amends by offering her up to all the zombies for food.
Yeah.
And Blaine's look of horror, but then he turned around and joined the cult, seemingly, following that episode. So that was a weird reaction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, clearly he enjoyed getting closer to his father, but I don't think he processed the housekeeper appropriately, I guess is where I'm going with it.
He's still like under the impression where it's like, okay, how do I benefit from this? Like, where's the opportunity for me in this? Not just like, oh, I can get close to my dad. It's just like, well, maybe I could get more brains, maybe I can get more money from this, that kind of thing.
Yeah. It just seems like for such a huge... We had this reveal with this housekeeper. We know what dad and housekeeper have done to him. They just kind of wrapped it up a little weirdly. He looks horrified, and then he's fine. And sings Amazing Grace in the church. It's weird. Just my personal observation. Again, I watched the season very fast. Maybe they said something I missed. I don't know.
What were some of your favorite brains for the season?
Well, let's talk about her brains of the week, since we've listed them for the other seasons. So, first, she's a Seattle Seahawks superfan, who also was one of the henchmen. She's a mean-spirited socialite, like the old woman who got clubbed with the golf ball gun. The hopeless romantic, I think that one was ranked high for me. Yeah. The hockey goon, them's fighting words kind of hockey fan. The actress of the stage, complete with a rip-off of Rent.
And cameo by Rachel Bloom from Crazy Ex-Girlfriend.
Yes, indeed.
Oh, yeah.
That was her.
That was her brain. So
a little
she was-
cross promotion.
Yeah.
It took me a minute to realize that she was one of the victims from the bus crash in the previous episode. Because I'm like, how did she die? They never addressed that. It was because she was one of the crash victims of the zombie bus driver who wasn't who was giving his brain tubes to his family.
I totally did not see that.
Yeah,
I
I had to rewind. I'm like, wait.
I recognized her when she sang
Yeah.
in the Rent ripoff, but I did not know who that was. She was also a professional player, otherwise known as a douchebag, a LARPer, as in live action role player.
But a Renaissance.
Yeah,
Like,
a Renaissance.
No, it was King Arthur, like the Knights of
Camelot.
the Round Table,
Yes.
Camelot Knight.
She was very in character. I loved the former member of the main LARPer group that kind of went off and started a zombie LARPer group when he became a zombie, and she met up with him to interview him and was totally in character the whole time, and he says, I just want nothing more than to break your character.
Yeah.
It was so funny. I enjoyed it. She was also a germaphobe, a very questionable rapper, and then Detective Benedetto. The rapper was a little cringeworthy. I'm just going to say it. She has no rhythm. Sorry, Rose McIver, unless you were putting that on, in which case, great job.
Yeah.
I mean, she's got range, so you never know.
Yeah, I don't know. And she was playing basically two white rappers that didn't really get very successful, so maybe that was the joke. I don't know.
There's also the one where she's a housewife.
That was in the previous season.
No, she's
Oh!
the one that she's talking about is at the safe house.
Right.
In Oregon.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't
I
consider
like
that
that
a brain of the
episode.
week, because that was more of an arc.
But that was because that's when he kidnaps her, right?
Yeah,
Right.
Major
And they
kids
eat
now.
the brain of the old married couple or whatever.
Which
Yes,
they didn't
to keep
realize.
her docile.
Then you realize
Yeah.
over the course the wife actually killed them in a car crash.
Yeah.
Because she was so annoyed by her husband
husband
singing
Yeah.
and other annoying
Yes.
Yeah.
I like
Yep.
that episode.
You're right.
That
She
was
played
good.
kind of a 50s housewife.
Yeah.
Getting his sandwiches and
Yeah.
The
bourbon.
martinis and the Tom
That's
Collinses.
right. Yeah.
Tom Collins.
Tom Collins.
Right.
Yeah.
Because who drinks those anymore? I'm sure some people do.
She flip-flops back and forth quite a bit between, like, her normal appearance, like, her, like, zombie appearance, and then, like, the, like, tan and dye zombie version of herself.
She
I kind of wish
does.
they would I kind of wish that she would just pick one, but maybe for the documentary they want her to, like, stay
See,
as...
I think it's funny how in almost every season she's done the tan and dyed zombie look, which is just her in real life. And there's like that kind of little like wink, wink, nudge, nudge, like, oh, Liv, you're going with the tan and dyed look, huh? I just think it's funny that it's, they give her a break from all the hair and makeup for a couple episodes each season.
She's made at
Is
least
that-
a couple comments about wearing a horrible wig in that look, too.
Yeah.
Well, even with it, too, the wig that she uses for, I think, like, the first season, she did not like that wig at all.
Oh.
Yeah. Well, and when she is tan and dyed, Liv, it's her
It's her-
normal hair. Which is
Right.
really funny why she calls it, the horrible wig. And and the wig she used to dress up as Peyton. This season.
Yes.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
hysterical.
That was funny. Yeah.
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 I'm telling you, there was a lot of
There was a lot.
self-referential humor. I mean, she
Yeah.
did the tan and dyed look this season more to hide out because she was renegade. She was trying to blend in.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So in terms of picking one, I'm sure she will. If we want to talk about the end of the season, Major encourages her to continue being renegade. So perhaps that means she's going au naturel Rose McIver for the rest of the show.
Could be.
Yeah.
They did give us a lot of time to get used to her, not as a zombie.
Yeah.
I will say, I was kind of, I don't know if they're going to bring this up in season 5 or not, I was kind of bummed that this is, like, way back in season 1 with her family. I thought they were going to bring them back somehow, or, like, see if they were actually, like, trapped in New Seattle or not, now that, like, the zombie secret is exposed, and you're like, oh, well, maybe that's why she didn't want to give blood or whatever, so that he wouldn't turn into a zombie, and, like, see what happened with that.
Agreed, but I have heard from the spoiler vine somewhere along the way that they do plan to bring them back in season 5.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
The family.
Yeah. Which I agree. I mean, that was kind of lazy. For whatever reason, they decided, probably because they couldn't afford him, to keep going with her family. But he was in, like, medical distress after Meet Cute, and we never did find out what happened. I thought that was weird.
Well, we were told obviously that she turned him down, but even with it too, I don't think she gave a really good reason for it. I mean, I don't know, they could have used a different excuse. I don't know if they even could use a different excuse other than zombies, but I feel like that could have been better resolved, but I'm glad that they're going to be coming back to hopefully figure out how to resolve that.
I think that's a major thing that they have to resolve before the end of the show, because that's weird otherwise. But it hasn't been the first time. Dungeons and Dragons returns.
Oh,
Which I thought was
when
so...
they were on, it was mandatory lockdown because a serial killer, zombie serial killer had escaped. So the main people are all locked in the police station.
And Clive is the dungeon master.
And then the new girl, Michelle.
Because Clive and Dale are in an open relationship,
Right, because she's
Dale's
a zombie. And
Right.
he's not.
Which is sad.
Which I was confused because I thought she did cheat. I'm not cheat, but I mean, I thought she did have relations with somebody else. But,
she made out with a guy.
But I thought she had sex. I guess that was what I just assumed happened.
I think you're supposed to, because Liv on Hopeless Romantic Brain totally beefed up that piece, and then tried to get Clive to, hook up with Michelle and everything else. I think your brain just naturally makes the leap, but Dale does clarify with him later on.
That she didn't.
I made out with a guy, but I didn't go anything.
Then you suddenly feel really bad for him because he did.
Right, because he thought she did.
Right, which is a whole nother thing that made me, she's a zombie, he's not, they can't have kids, and if he ever wanted to be father, that's kind of sad.
Yeah. Which is basically the conversation they have, and at some point near the end of the season, she even, because Liv as Detective Benedetto Brain clubs a guy with a fish.
And it's apparently a very funny video in the police department.
Well, yeah, because it's caught on dash cam, you see.
Yep.
But dash cam also catches a snippet of conversation where Clive is basically saying this to Liv, that he wants to have kids, so he's considering breaking it off. And Dale just does, so he'll be happy. Yeah. It's so cute.
It is.
At this point, I think I like her.
Yeah, this is when I started to, like her.
Let's talk about... Well, we didn't talk enough about Dungeons and Dragons.
Well, and I liked how that Michelle jumps in and just wrote on the sheet her character.
Yeah, she's like, and here's all my information.
One of them is called, she's from Shondaland was one of the things.
She had Grey's Anatomy character names or something from Shondaland.
I think why I liked it so much is because she was trying to fit in and be part of that. And there was a point in my own personal life that my older brothers played that game. I was never allowed to play that. And I literally made my character sheet on notebook paper and tried to... I had my character, because they said, you can't play because you don't have a character. So I went and I literally did what she did and wrote on paper like that to get in. And then, of course, they let me in and then killed me off right away. But so it was just like that little bit of nostalgia for me, because it just reminded me of...
Brought back this happy memory of your brothers killing you off in Dungeons and Dragons. Okay. I also enjoyed the piece of it where Ravi asks Major to urgently get a briefcase from their house while Major's on patrol for the zombie serial killer. And then what's in the briefcase? A little game token. That's it.
A very tiny little game token.
Yeah.
Seemingly made of real metal, so good on him, but that's all that was in it. That was the emergency.
Yeah.
So they could play Dungeons and Dragons. I love that has become a running gag on the show. And that there's even side references, like at some point Clive... When they're in the LARPing episode, and he's like, now, I don't quite get the mechanics of Dungeons and Dragons, but physically acting it out, that has possibility.
Yeah.
So, I just love it. It's so funny. So funny. I love all the humor. It's great. We should mention that one of the side plots, although it becomes kind of a major integrated plot, is that Blaine, in an effort to, again, opportunistically score off the plight of New Seattle, notices that property values are going down, buys up a bunch of cheap properties. We find out in this season, because that was a question that I had coming out of season 2 or 3 was, where the hell did the zombie cure syringes go? It's confirmed in this season that he stole them. And he auctions them off to the highest bidders, rich people on the dark web. He gets Donnie, genius virgin hacker brain guy, to set up a very secure auction site. Rich people then he uses to raise money toward buying property that he will then drive up when the zombie apocalypse happens. And in order to cause the zombie apocalypse, he puts on this weird sex mask thing and it basically kills the zombie mayor, former district attorney Baracus. Turns him human with the cure.
Yeah.
And shoots him in the heart.
Yeah, because they needed someone who was a well-known zombie to show, yep, see, this will turn you human, and then we will kill him like you can only kill a human.
Then,
I will say, kind of piggybacking off of what you said for Donnie, that was one of the favorite brains, was him on Virgin Computer Hacker Brain.
he was very funny. We've hardly also talked about Blue Brains, by the way.
Yeah, I didn't talk much about that.
Oh, yeah.
And it was pretty big.
It was a big
part of
deal.
it.
So in season 3, to try to cure the memory loss, Ravi decides to stimulate memory in human brains by soaking it in this serum. God knows what is in it, but it turns the brains blue. Instead of curing the memory loss in zombies, it actually gives regular old healthy zombies who eat it acute visions, almost like LSD type hallucinations. Very vivid in memory visions. And that becomes important just because this blue brain stuff kind of becomes a high-priced recreational drug at the scratching post, and people eat it a lot. But also, Ravi soaks Isabel's brain in the blue serum too, which stimulates an actual cure from her brain.
You have to eat the whole brain.
He posited that had to happen.
Yeah.
So that, because he didn't know if just a chunk would cure.
Well, it's probably just like a portion of it, where it's like a small portion, like for the rat would work for that, but obviously for a human it would need to be bigger.
Right. Also, Peyton becomes the acting mayor
Yep.
because she's working as Baracus' chief of staff up until this point, since she was his ADA for such a long time. And she tries to go to Washington to negotiate with the government because the whole time there's a threat of nuclear bombing of the city to contain the zombie threat. So then we get to the end of the season. I'm trying to segue into it. So
Yes, the season finale made me cry. It was sad.
Levon is killed. Fillmore Graves was looking for Renegade. He, trying to save Liv, turned himself in while Major had kidnapped Liv and took her to Oregon. Liv escapes from Major's safe house, goes back to Fillmore Graves and
the air
turns
quotes were
herself
implied.
in. Yeah,
Turns herself in.
to try to save Levon. They end up torturing both of them, and as word gets out of what they're going to do to Liv,
Because they leak the documentary.
because they leaked the documentary to raise some sympathy for
Right.
her, to get her story out there. Fillmore Graves decides to not only change the location of their assassination, essentially, or their execution, but also the time.
Yeah.
To try to get it done before anybody can raise a protest. You know, while the gang, zombie Scooby gang, gets the plans in motion to try to save Liv, unfortunately, Levon is executed first, right in front of everybody.
They ended up catching on to the fact, or they found it through one of the Fillmore Graves agents, that they moved up the execution and they changed location. So what Peyton does, she actually goes down to the TV station where Johnny Frost comes back, where Johnny Frost, I think, is now like a talk show, like morning host, kind of like in the style of Kelly
It's a cooking
Ripa.
show,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Frost bites.
It's a cooking segment.
Segment.
On
Oh,
a
yeah.
morning
That's
talk
right.
show. He gets promoted every season.
That's
Did
right.
you notice that?
Yeah.
Okay.
It urges the people, because at this point, like, the documentary went viral too. She urges people who have seen the documentary, please, like, if you care about Renegade, you want to help her, like, still continue the work, come to the warehouse, we're going to stop the execution, they bumped it up early, that kind of stuff. And Johnny Frost went with them too, which I thought was kind of funny. They all get there, Major manages to break in while he's on full-on zombie mode, and he stops them, everyone comes rushing in, him and Chase kind of get into a fight. Chase, I think, is about to kill Major, but then Chase, where he lands, is right underneath the Anvil guillotine, and Liv ends up pulling the lever, and his head gets crushed, and he gets killed instantly.
Yes. So Chase Graves is no more. Bye, Jason Doran.
And then once every, it's very sad we've lost Levon, but Chase Graves is gone. Major now assumes command of Fillmore Graves.
Because everybody wants him to.
Everybody wants him
He
to.
doesn't want it, but
No.
he kind of has to.
It's handed to him,
Yeah.
essentially. And then after, Liv wakes up from her big ordeal, Ravi and Peyton kind of lead her outside, and there's this huge group of people, both human and zombie, who want to work together to make things better. Whether that's continuing the Underground Railroad or helping to figure things out in New Seattle, they have agreed they want to make things better.
Plus, there's the added bonus. I mean, before we even get to that point, she's talking about retiring because she lost Levon, and this whole thing has been so emotionally trying for her.
Yeah.
She's prepared to eat the Isabel's brain, as she promised, which now has become a zombie cure, but then is called up to a surprise wedding.
Between Babineau and Dale.
And Clive is prepared to go zombie for her.
Yep.
They've worked it out. They love each other. They above
He
all
said
else.
everything that, I want to be a father, I want to have kids, but I want you more.
Right.
Very sweet.
And because one of the things that's discussed all throughout this season particularly, but throughout several of the seasons, is that Liv has a hero complex. I mean, she basically, which is good and bad. It gets her into trouble, but it also means that she's always willing to sacrifice of herself and always willing to do the right thing. And at this point in time, she gives the brain, Isabel's brain, she gifts it to Dale, so that she can become human again and they can have kids again. And then that segues into them kind of processing everything and then coming out to this applause of zombie and human together. So what did you think of all that? Good recapping, guys. Thanks.
Well, I just think what we were kind of said earlier, they really wrapped up the season well, just in case if they didn't get renewed, you would get the sense that, okay, there's that sense of hope.
Yeah.
I know I kind of talked about that a lot in the Once Upon a Time podcast of ending with hope. They really ended it with hope that things are going to get better. That even if we didn't see what would happen in a potential season 5, I felt that was a good wrap up for the story. But I'll be really interested to see where they take things because who knows? Are they going to do another time jump even if it is only a couple months or a couple days? Or are they going to pick up from that moment? And where are they going to take the story from here? There's a lot of possibilities. Is Liv going to stay a zombie? Is Dale going to have to eat the whole brain to become human again? Or is it only going to be just a little bite?
Right.
And then Liv could have some and Major could have some. How are they going to work that out?
Yeah.
Or is
I think the season finale that she had to eat the whole brain, because at the end too you see Dale eating ice cream like she's tasting it for the first time.
Right, but we don't actually see her eat the whole brain.
She doesn't eat the whole brain. We don't see that.
Yeah, because it happens off camera, we can't confirm that that's actually happened.
Oh. I don't know, I just assumed that.
Well, because that's what Ravi advocates, but maybe we'll get more information like Kristen is talking about. I agree. I think again, a credit to the writers. They were prepared for either eventuality.
Yeah.
They left a little something open, a little seed of this is where they could go.
Yeah.
Major and Liv working together side by side, and Blaine. Major basically, once he assumes command of Fillmore Graves, encourages Blaine to continue the black market because the U.S. government has cut off Seattle from the rest of the world and is no longer going to import brains for them. So that's an interesting dynamic that gets positive. And you're right, it does wrap up, but I'm interested to see more. I really want to know what happens.
Yeah, I want to know what happens.
Did they confirm that it would only be another 13 episode season?
Most likely. They didn't say 13 episodes, but 3 out of 4 seasons have been.
13. Yeah.
And
Well,
it most likely will have
the
spring premiere.
Yeah, and maybe, the finale will be supersized, whether it's an hour and 10 or a 2 hour.
Maybe.
So
So this is actually a good segue to the closing questions of the water cooler. First of all, do you have any questions going forward or predictions for the final season? Or what you hope to see in season 5?
I think there's 2 ways they could end the show. Either zombieism is eradicated through a cure from Isabel's brain, or they're able to live in harmony.
Coexist.
Yep.
I agree.
Yeah.
I don't think that zombies will take over. I don't see that happening.
I don't either.
And I really don't know as far as Liv goes. I have any predictions as to whether she'll be a zombie or not.
I don't think they would blow up Seattle either, or New Seattle.
I hope not. That's a lot of alternative music and, fish that's going to get blown up. Coffee. Yeah.
What if Liv gets cured and her and Major go back to where they were in the very beginning?
I would ship that. I'm still on the Liv and Major train.
Yeah, I am too. It was obviously, with their time in the safe house when they were on the married couple brain. Even Liv said, I'm on the influence of the brain, but this is still what I'm feeling.
Yeah. Right.
So, they obviously had some words, and they both really still love each other. And
I will say, the entire series for iZombie, the fact that they kind of I don't say piggyback and forth, but it's they're on again, they're off again, they're on again, and off again. Even with all of Liv's boyfriends throughout the series, and had some good actors too. And of course, Levon will now have a special place in my heart.
Yeah,
having that on and off thing with Major and Liv, that's getting kind of old. I feel like they're going to resolve it somehow, but it's I kind of wish you did it maybe a little sooner.
Maybe, except then we wouldn't have had Levon.
Yeah, but to me, it would just be kind of a fitting way to end it. It's a full circle.
Mm-hmm.
Agreed. And with Clive and Dale married, Ravi and Peyton are back together and seem to be seriously committed to one another. That just seems like a natural progression.
Yeah.
I think that's an easy prediction to make. I actually hope for the cure for zombieism. I hope that's the way they go because they've spent so much time talking about it. I hope they actually achieve it.
And for more than just Dale.
Yeah. The coexistence piece is fine. It's a little allegorical. It feels heavy-handed at times. So I don't know if I would feel satisfied if that's where they went. I feel satisfied at the end of this season. That was a very good alternative or B ending in case they got canceled. But I think A ending should be zombieism is cured.
Yeah. Then I think the only thing that may come up against next season is if they do produce a cure, are there going to be any zombies who are going to resist taking it?
Good
who
question.
prefer their
That's
new
an
life,
excellent
like Blaine?
question.
Will he?
He does like being a zombie, doesn't he? He keeps going back.
Well, even with the whole brother love cult too, the ones that probably, I have a feeling not all of them perish or were crazy enough to go out there. I wonder what's going to happen with them. If that's still going to be a thing in season 5, if there's still going to be that radical cult.
I don't know. I feel like they wrapped that one up a lot. I think they actually made a mention of the fact that 1,000 zombies were killed, which was roughly. I think he led his whole flock. I think that's the way he worked.
Yeah.
They were just like a hive mind that went everywhere, and they made pretty on the nose mention of the fact that the military took them all out. So I'm sensing that that's probably not going to be a thing. Maybe there'll be somebody here or somebody there as a brain of the week or something, or story of the week, but I don't.
They'll still have to continue the brain of the week for a while because that's a big basis of the show. But
I don't think they can let that go.
No.
It'll be interesting to see how Renegade becomes Renegade when she's fully known as Renegade.
She is now.
She is. Major said it.
So is the U.S. Army gonna stop her since now they're another player?
That's one of my predictions, is that this is going to go bigger scale than Seattle. I think before it comes back, it's going to get worse before it gets better, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Which is a pretty standard trope for TV. Any other predictions, hopes, or wishes, or specifically since season 5 has been announced to be final, what is your ideal ending? I've talked about mine.
Yeah, I've already gave my 2 options for how I could see it end.
Coexistence or cure.
I'm for the cure.
Procure.
Procure.
And
Which sounds like procure.
And Liv and Major end up together.
Yeah.
Yes.
And Robbie and Peyton.
And they have
Stay
kids. They have lots of kids.
What about Clive and Dale?
That's what I mean.
Oh, they have kids
All
too?
of the couples have lots of kids.
All of them have kids, and they
the
have
kids grow
barbecues together,
Yes.
and they play Dungeons and Dragons, and everything is happy.
Aww.
I don't need to go that far.
Come on. Oh, come on.
Well, I've never played D&D, so I don't get the appeal. So I'm just gonna sit this one out.
But they seem very happy when they play the D&D.
Then let them play D&D, to paraphrase Marie Antoinette.
So okay. And or Kristen is our resident Peyton.
I'd be okay with that. I'd be okay with that.
Who would you be?
Who would
Jen
I be out of
S.
the show?
Yeah. Or Jenn K if you want to field that question.
I don't know.
I would want to be Ravi, but I feel like I'm more of
It's a
a
lot of
Clive.
You are more of a Clive.
Yeah. I react judgmentally, I admit it. And also I have a very not so secret nerdy side.
Yeah.
Game of Thrones. 2 thumbs up.
Yeah, you're Clive.
But I am not prepared to either play Dungeons and Dragons or be a dungeon master at this time. We talk about that on Stranger Things. So I'm not ready for that, man. I can't make that kind of commitment.
I feel like probably to say I might be Liv.
Okay.
Everybody that's been mentioned and like all the other characters, like that seems to be like the only one that's popping up that I could like relate to the most, I would say.
Because you would find new and spicy gourmet ways of making your brains.
Probably.
Okay.
And also having like insane range of talents like she does when she's on the said brains.
So
I
you
want that.
basically just want the gimmick.
Yeah. And I don't like dead bodies, so I won't be Peyton.
Okay.
Sweet. This works out. This works out.
Jen S., you have to pick one.
I'll just be an innocent standby.
They all die.
Bystander.
They all die.
She could be Minor. The dog.
Yes! We know what you meant, Minor.
We have to talk about
Basset
him.
Hound.
He is the best. I thought of you, actually.
Minor.
Yeah.
Oh. Damn, why didn't you bring it up sooner?
I don't know. We kind of glossed over that. Well, during Chaos Killer days,
Yeah.
Major, he kind of took out a zombie with the dog. And the dog was very sad and kept going back to the place where he buried the guy. And so he took in the dog. And Ravi called him Minor.
I don't know why that dog storyline broke my heart. Just seeing like the dog act and react like that too, because it's like you saw your owner get killed. Now you had to live with the killer. Like how much like trauma has that dog gone through?
But then they leave him on the bus.
That's even worse. I think the leaving on the bus thing is worse.
It is. It is
Oh, I'm
worse.
such a dog person. That broke
You
my heart.
The dog was living with the killer, but I don't think the dog realized it. And I think the dog loved Major even just a little. Because the dog was very wistful looking out the back of the bus, just like Forrest Gump.
Is a Basset Hound. They're good at doing that.
Being like Forrest Gump.
Looking out wistfully.
So they're so Minor.
They're natural.
Everybody loves Minor.
Yes, Minor for the win. I hope Minor comes back. He won't.
Oh my god, that'd be perfect.
He'd be on the
I
bus.
don't know if they ever would, but knowing iZOMBIE and some of the random stuff that they brought back,
It's
you
true.
never know.
Which is another Buffy-like thing.
Yeah.
They keep bringing back old stuff
Yeah.
from random places. True that. Are you going to keep watching
Yes.
till the end?
Of course.
Yes.
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 I will keep watching as well, which means that following season 5 is when our panel will next reconvene to talk about the show as a whole and season 5, the end. It'll be both sad and I fell in love with this show and now there's only one left. This is very traumatic.
Short time with it if you just talked about binging it recently.
It's true. Only a couple of months. I watched it, I asked you guys if you wanted to be a panel, and then I watched the rest of it.
Yeah.
That's how that went. So
Where I've been watching it pretty much from the beginning. I think I caught it during episode 2 or 3.
over the
Like,
course of the
I only had a
seasons.
couple when I found it on Hulu.
Like I said, I binge watched the first season in a night.
Yeah, it's a good show.
It's a very good show.
So, with that said, is there anything else that you'd like to say about season 4 or what you hope to see in the final season, season 5 of iZombie?
I want to see Ravi on more brains.
Agreed. I concur with that. More Ravi on brains. I would like them all to be on brains at the same time. Just
The
saying.
same brain or different brains?
Well, I could go either way. Both. All of it.
They just need to pair
Liv,
together.
Ravi, and Major.
It just needs to pair together correctly. Like it was, I brought this up before, but like the teenage daughter and then the dad brain.
Right. At this point, then, what I'd like to do is thank, once again, Kristen, Jenn S, and Jenn K for joining me to talk about iZombie Season 4. As I said before, the next time you hear us will be when we talk about Season 5. But that's a long time in the future, because that probably won't happen until next spring. And since it's not next spring, it's this spring, I gotta say, CPU is produced by Back Pocket Productions, run by yours truly, the Chief Couch Potato, and hails from Grand Rapids, Michigan. Please, if you like what you hear, take the time to rate us on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, or Google Play. That means give us stars, comments, reviews. Good ones, maybe. Let us know how we're doing, though. What you like, what you don't, what we should keep, what we shouldn't keep, you know. That's how it works here. Feedback is always welcome. If you have suggestions on shows we might consider, contact us at our website, couchpotatoesunite.wordpress.com, by email at couchpotatoesunitepodcast@gmail.com, or by Facebook and Twitter. Of course, we add new and old shows to chat about around water cooler all the time. We have more new episodes coming down the pike. It's summer. It's our busy season. There's going to be a whole bunch of TV we talk about. And if you miss old episodes or want to know in general what we cover, we're everywhere. Find us. Search for us on the Googles. Search for us at our website. Find us on our channels, our social media accounts. Stay up on new events and episodes. Until next time, all available seasons of iZombie are or should shortly be available to stream on that little red icon known as Netflix. Help us, man. In the meantime, our iZombie panel, of course, comes back after Season 5 airs, which was announced to be the final season, and we'll have a longer goodbye episode. It'll be just one episode, since we've covered all the seasons so far, but it will be a longer one when we talk about it to say goodbye. So until next time, until next episode, new episodes are published every Wednesday. Keep listening, keep watching, stay tuned.
Bye.
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 Bye. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.